Hello, good afternoon. My name is Hector Rodriguez and I'm Dana's dad. And today I'm going to be answering, I'm guessing it's a lot of questions about religion and God. So I'm going to try to do my best. Go ahead, Dana.
Okay, first question. In what type of God, entity, or deity do you believe in?
Well, we are a Catholic family. So the God that I believe is the one that I would say most of the people in Mexico believe in. And, we follow the traditions from any Catholic family. And we try to be good people. And we try to raise our kids believing in God under the religion that my parents taught me and that my grandparents taught my parents.
Have you questioned the existence of God? Why?
I wouldn't say that I would challenge the existence of God. I do believe that there is a God, and there is an entity, if you want to call it that way, or a figure that is bigger than us here in Earth.
Do you think that God is a bigger, powerful than humans?
The short answer is yes.
Does it make the decision of death?
I didn't understand your question.
Do you think that God is the one who makes the decision when humans or animals die?
That's a tough one. I think on this one, I'm somewhere in between. On one hand, I could believe that God makes every single decision, whether they're big or small. On the other hand, I do believe that God would give mankind enough decision-making power, and they will let you live your own life the best that you can. And eventually, one day you're gonna die. But I'm not sure if he's making all the decisions saying, hey, it's your time to die, and that's it. That's the end of the life. Only family, my parents, my grandparents, as I mentioned, they believe in God when they were kids, and they just teach you, you get taught about religion, and you get taught about being a good Catholic, and that's, how we're sharing knowledge from one generation to the next generation, and that's keeping those beliefs alive. I think the biggest influence is going to be family.
Does believing in God help you get through hard times or be better?
I think it does, and I think it's not only for me, but I think for multiple people. So when things are great, I wouldn't say that everybody has strong beliefs in religion or God, but when things are tough, for sure everybody's talking about God or talking to God or thinking about religion. I mean, if you have a family member that is very sick, then that's what when I see that multiple people turn into religion or thinking about God. Or if the economy is bad, then yes, that's when people start thinking more frequently about God. So definitely hard time make people believe more in God and religion.
Do you get to think that religion could be a social construct towards God?
I think somehow that I would say yes. I wouldn't fully agree with that, but first of all, we have to understand that a lot of the people believe that there is an entity, there is something bigger than us, and that something bigger than us created this world. How we interpret religion, that's up to different civilizations or different countries. So there is gonna be that difference, and the interpretation is what you probably mean about social construct.
How has your God influenced people in history? Was it developed other cultures? What other religions?
I think yes, and if you go back in time, religion has been very close to people in power. So in the past times, it was religion who was ruling the world. In the recent times, there is definitely some political parties that are the ones that are dictating how things should be by a country, but there is a strong relation between religion and politics. I think they are connected. We try to, or they say they're trying to be separate, but that relation exists and it will continue existing. Now, if you go back in time, you had the first religions, the first civilizations, and from there, you've been having some, I would call them spin-off of religions. I mean, if you take a look to Catholicism, during few years, maybe 400, 500 years ago, you started to have different type of religions that had the inception in Catholicism, but they just break and they have a different version. They're still Christianity, but they act and their beliefs are slightly different than Catholicism's.
Do you think God challenges the human being's natural instincts? Why is this?
I think yes, it challenged them. I think God would give people to be empowered to do things, and it would be up to the individual to do what they're gonna do. In some cases, they do good things. In some cases, they do bad things, and there are gonna be consequences. And consequences are gonna be in this life within mankind. In other cases, the consequences are gonna be after death. You know, when you die. And you have to go and talk to God about the good things you did, about the bad things you did, and I think God is empowering you to do the right thing or wrong things.
If you were to meet God, what would you ask him?
I would ask him a lot of questions, but among the most, I would say the ones that I am more curious about is that why did he create mankind? How did he create mankind? And is this world gonna end, cease to exist at one point in time? There are probably more questions, but those are the top three that I have in my head.
Just to be more specific, do you think that the God that you believe in is the same one that is portrayed in the Bibles? Like, do you think that he looks the same in what is portrayed in the paintings as what he is in real life?
No, I think that's just a representation so that you can associate God to a person. So if I think God could have multiple manifestations, the one that you see at church or the ones that you see in the Bible, that you see in books are just an interpretation of mankind. And I think men would like to believe in a God that you can relate to. If they put a figure that is completely different to a human being, then I don't know that people would understand. So no, I don't think that this type of God is necessarily the one that exists. I think God could have multiple shapes in multiple forms. It's just a manifestation so that you can see and understand religion in an easier way, and that you can believe in God just because you look to a person that looks like you.
I also saw Dana's dad response video of the questions. I kind of agree that he belongs in the Christian religion, more specifically in the Catholic part of that Christian complex. But he is very respectful in the way that he expresses his opinion. He doesn't think, well, for me, I don't think he feels like he is in the absolute right, but he is very concrete in what he is saying. Now I'm gonna start analyzing him. But first of all, one thing I connected is that he kind of agrees with, well, he kind of connects with Hegel's philosophy of religion, which was God is a spirit, and he is kind of like not around us, but as a spirit. And I noticed that his ideas and mine don't kind of connect to each other in a way, but also don't. Because I think I don't know if it's the kind of the age difference, or that we grew up in different times and different kind of periods. Because back then, I feel like religion was more struck upon child, so they can grow up and be more religious. And in comparison with now, I feel like parents don't force their kids to be super religious. So I noticed that difference.
After talking and analyzing with my dad, I came to the conclusions that he was raised in a Catholicism household for a very long time, and even though he was raised there, he never ever questioned the existence of God before. This is because he always went to church and prayed. And even though he went to church and prayed every day, he kind of technically second-guessed the way that God looks like, not portrayed as in the Bibles or in the paintings, but how he could be like, and he can transform into different things, and maybe not necessarily be a man, but just as something or a soul that is even powerful enough to be converted into what it wants to convert into. For example, maybe the same God that he believes in can be kind of a way that helped other religions get into what they believe nowadays. For example, Buddhism, the God that they believe in may have the same transformation as what he believes in. What I'm trying to say here is that the God that he believes in, it can be transformed as the God that maybe Buddhists or people who are Jewish believe in. And yes, he does think that God is a bigger and powerful person or soul or entity, because he was raised in that way that God created the whole earth and maybe universe of some part of that. So he does believe in that, but he doesn't really believe that God makes the decision to make people die, or just in general the theme of death. He believes that maybe death is another topic apart from God. Maybe someone else is taking over the topic of death, or maybe there's just a time limit for every person and individual or organism that they have to die. So the way that it makes him help think that way is also another way that it helps him like be a better person. In this case, since he believes in God and he's part of Catholicism, it helps him in ways that he reflects on himself and become a better person. Like if he's had a bad day or he's done something wrong or be sinful of something, he goes and talks it over with God in a private place so he can get better, which is one of the ways that he was taught in his childhood to let things out, that he doesn't get frustrated and he doesn't get so bottled up every time he's worked up on something or stressed about something. He knows that the best way to manage his stress is to talking to other people or just God in general to have a very more peaceful life. Moving on, he kind of thinks that God may be a somewhat social construct of humanity. He does believe in God, but maybe some things for him just don't make sense that can be part of social construct. It really depends on the religion that you believe in, but that's what he thinks, because everyone has their own way of thinking and who they want to believe in. So it can really depend on who you're asking it to, the person. But in some ways, like what I said before, he does believe in God, but he doesn't think that he's involved in death. Like he doesn't make the decisions of death. Going to my next question, if God has influenced other cultures, he definitely believes in that, because not only it would influence in their own culture of Christianity and Catholicism, but also maybe in other religions that may create their own God. For example, in the World War II, it influenced people to maybe go against each other and betrayal. But in ways of development, he does believe that, but he doesn't necessarily know what specific eras it might be in. And he definitely agrees that God influences and challenges humans on the natural instinct, because a lot of Catholic people or Christianity people, well, people in general who believe in God, they always see that there's always a good side in things and always a bad side in things, but they never really realize that there can be a mix of both. Like for example, heaven and hell, they may think that there's only one side to go to, but for him it can be really mixed. It can be like you can do this many bad things but have a pure heart for a good reason. And the most desperate question was that if he met God one day, he would like to ask him why he created Earth, or just in general the universe, or why the living things, because he's really curious about like what was in his mind of creating Earth.